An hour ago, I believed my husband was a good man. Now, I know he is a very good liar. In front of me stood two futures for a son, one with a father and one without. This is not a story about a broken marriage. This is the case file of a man gambling with his child's life, and I am the judge. In my left hand, I hold the evidence that will send him to rock bottom and save our son from financial ruin. In my right, I hold the last photograph of our happy family and the key to the lie that could keep us together but might destroy him completely. Justice or mercy? Ruin or a dangerous hope? Tell me. In the comments, which path do I choose? The lies I see now were not individual events. They were a system, an architecture of deceit he built around our lives so carefully that I never saw the blueprint. A year ago, there was the tech startup, an old college friend, a can't-miss opportunity. It required an investment, he told me, $10,000 from our joint savings. He was so passionate, so convincing, drawing charts on napkins at the dinner table, his eyes alight with the promise of a secure future for our family. When it failed, 2 months later, he was devastated. I held him, I consoled him, I told him that what mattered wasn't the money, but that he had dared to chase a dream. I see the bank transfer now. Not to a startup, to an online casino account based in Malta. He didn't lose an investment. He lost a bet. And he let me comfort him for a lie he constructed. Then there were the late nights, the endless client dinners and project deadlines that left him coming home after midnight, smelling of stale cigar smoke and expensive whiskey. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? I was proud of his work ethic, his dedication. He was building his career, I told myself, securing our future. I leave a plate of food warming in the oven, a note on his pillow. I see the credit card statements now, time-stamped at 2 a.m. Not from a downtown steakhouse, but from the private poker lounge at the Windsor Club, the same club where his firm doesn't even have a corporate membership. The stress of work wasn't from difficult clients. It was the stress of a man trying to bluff his way out of a losing hand, both at the table and at home. He made me feel guilty for questioning his exhaustion, for even daring to suggest he was working too hard. My concern was framed as a lack of faith in his ambition. The greatest deception, though, was our son's future. For 10 years, we've contributed to a college fund for Alex, a sacred account, we called it, our promise to him. Mark managed the account, citing his experience with market investments. Just let me handle it, sweetheart. You have enough on your plate. He made my desire to be involved seem like a lack of trust. So I backed away. I let him handle it. Tonight, driven by a cold, sickening premonition after finding his hidden phone, I logged into that account. It should have held nearly $50,000. Instead, it holds $312. He didn't just spend our savings. He stole from our son, systematically. $1,000 here, $2,000 there, for over 18 months. Every time he told me he was moving funds to a higher yield stock, he was moving them to his personal account to cover his losses. He told me he was moving funds to a higher yield stock. He was moving them to his personal account to cover his losses. Last spring, Alex had his heart set on a wilderness camp. It wasn't just a trip, it was a rite of passage for him and his friends. Mark was supposed to organize it, pay the deposit, buy the new gear. For weeks, Alex was ecstatic, planning what he packed, practicing knots in the backyard. The weekend before they were set to leave, Mark sat us both down. His face was a mask of regret. He said there was a mix-up with the registration. He said they overbooked. We lost our spot. I'll never forget the look on my son's face, the way that the light just went out of his eyes. He didn't cry. He just went to his room and quietly shut the door. It broke my heart, and I spent the rest of the night furious at the camp's incompetence. I know the truth now. There was no mix-up.
Mark never paid the deposit. The money we'd set aside for our son's great adventure, it covered a single bet hand of Texas Hold'em on a Tuesday night. He let his own child's heart break to hide his sickness. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about a man that has shown a stunning capacity for cruelty to the people he claims to love.
I pick up the silver frame from my nightstand. It's the last picture we took as a truly happy family, 2 summers ago on our trip to the lake. Mark is holding Alex on his shoulders, both of them grinning at me, the sun setting behind them, casting a golden halo around their heads. I remember that day so clearly. Alex had just turned 8 and was terrified of learning to swim without his floaties. Mark spent 4 hours in the cold water with him, patient, encouraging, never once losing his temper. "You can do it, champ," he'd say over and over. "I've got you. I won't let you go." And when Alex finally swam the short distance from the dock to the raft by himself, the look of pride on Mark's face was radiant. It was the face of a man who loved his son more than anything in the world. He lifted Alex out of the water and swung him around, their laughter echoing across the lake. That evening, as Alex slept, exhausted and triumphant in his bed, Mark turned to me and said, "There is nothing I wouldn't do for that boy. I would burn down the world to keep him safe." Where is that man now? The one who would burn down the world for his son? Has the addiction consumed him so completely that he's now the one setting the fire? That's the agony of this. I'm not just choosing between 2 paths for a stranger. I'm choosing between destroying the man I married and saving the monster he's become. I remember the night we found out my mother's cancer had returned. I was a wreck, completely falling apart. Mark canceled a major business trip without a second thought. He just held me all night, not saying much, just being there. He handled everything. The calls to doctors, the insurance paperwork, cooking meals, taking Alex to school. He was my rock, my protector. He took the weight of the world off of my shoulders so I could just focus on being a daughter. He whispered, "We're a game. Your burdens are my burdens." He showed me then what true partnership meant. And yet that same man, my protector, my partner, he drained our son's college fund with the casual efficiency of a man ordering coffee. He looked me in the eye and lied about a failed startup while using our savings to fuel his secret. How can both of those men exist in the same person? It feels like a betrayal not just of our present, but of our entire shared past. It poisons every good memory, making me question what was real and what was just another part of the performance. Was his patience with Alex at the lake just a show? Was his support during my mother's illness genuine? Or was he already calculating his next bet in the back of his mind? The addiction is a disease. I know that. A sickness that hijacks the brain and twists a person into someone unrecognizable. The man in this photograph is not the man who drained his son's future. One is the man I love. The other is the disease I despise. But how do you save the man without also enabling the disease? The path of ruin is clean. In its own brutal way, I expose him. He hits rock bottom. The consequences are swift and undeniable. The secret is out, and with it, the power it holds over him and over us is gone. He will lose his job, his reputation, perhaps even his freedom if there are criminal charges. But he would be forced to confront his sickness head on. There would be no more lies, no more hiding. Our son would be financially safe, shielded from the fallout. But he would also see his father broken, publicly shamed, a wound that might never heal. The path of mercy is messier. It's a gamble of my own. I confront him privately, using this evidence not as a weapon, but as a lever for change. I offer him a choice, immediate, intensive treatment, or I proceed with the first path. We try to fight this together, as a team, as he once said.
We try to salvage the man I know is still in there somewhere, buried under the weight of his addiction. We could keep our family intact, protect our son from the ugliness of it all. We could try to rebuild, but it's a terrifying risk. What if he lies again? What if he promises to change, but the addiction is too strong? If I choose mercy and I'm wrong, I don't just lose our savings. I lose our son's future, irrevocably this time. I become the enabler who stood by while the house burned down. Am I a wife whose duty is to stand by her husband in sickness and in health? Or am I a mother whose sacred duty is to protect her child at all and any costs? The two roles, once aligned, are now at war.
If I choose the path of ruin, I make one phone call. I call Mark's managing partner, a man who has known him for 15 years and views him as a pillar of integrity. I will send him a single, encrypted file containing everything. The betting statements, the credit card receipts from the poker lounge, the records from our son's college fund. The fallout will be immediate. Mark will be suspended by lunchtime, fired by the end of the day. His career, the one he spent 2 decades building, will be over. The public shame will be devastating. Our friends, our community, they will all know. He will be isolated, forced to look at the wreckage he has created, with no one to blame but himself. Our son will be financially secure, the remaining funds protected in a new trust that Mark can never touch. But Alex will grow up knowing his father is a thief and a liar, a man who betrayed his family for the fleeting thrill of a bet. He will have a future, but he will have lost his father. If I choose the path of mercy, I make a different kind of call. I find the best inpatient treatment facility in the state. I arrange for an interventionist. Tonight, when Mark comes home, he won't be met with anger, but with an ultimatum. The evidence will be laid out on our kitchen table, not as an accusation, but as a diagnosis. I will tell him that the man I married is sick, and we are going to fight this sickness together. I will offer him this one final chance to choose his family over his addiction. There's a possibility, however slim, that this is the rock bottom he needs, not public, but private. We could potentially rebuild. We could become a family stronger for having weathered this storm. Alex could grow up with a father who was flawed, yes, but who fought for his redemption. A father who chose his son over his demons. But if I'm wrong, if he manipulates me one more time, the consequences are absolute. Every remaining penny will be gone. The college fund will be empty for good. Our son's future will be sacrificed on the altar of my misplaced hope. How do you measure these two outcomes? One guarantees financial security, but certain emotional devastation. The other offers a sliver of hope for emotional healing, but risks complete financial annihilation. It feels like standing at a precipice in the dark, with two paths leading away. One is a solid stone bridge that leads to a desolate land. The other is a rickety rope bridge swinging over a bottomless chasm. But it might just lead to a paradise on the other side. Which bridge do I take? Which future do I build from the ruins of this one? What is the price of hope? And is it a price our son can afford for me to pay? My love for my husband is at war with my love for my son. My husband's sickness has made him a gambler, but now I am the one holding the cards. I am the one who must make the final bet on justice or on mercy, on a broken man's potential for redemption or on the cold, hard certainty of his ruin. The decision is in my hands. The life of the man I love or the future of the child we created. I cannot save both. Tell me, in the comments, which path do I choose? What would you do?